rabbis of yesteryear. We are in the territory of Ethiopia today. One of the most famous Ethiopian rabbis, Harab Kes Abba Yitzhak Yasso, Zeche Tzadik Lebracha. It's his Hilula here on Aleph Shvat, Rosh Chodesh Shvat, naturally. He was born in English year 1900, Tafresh Samach, as we say in Hebrew, and passed away in the year 1995. He was approximately 95 years of age at the time the great Ethiopian rabbi passed away. Very interesting enough, and it actually happens to be, I believe, the first time we are speaking about an Ethiopian rabbi in this series. So what a big honor for us. And he was born, actually came from great heritage in of itself. I think he was born in the village of Yasso in Ethiopia, respectively. And I believe his father's name happened to be Kes de Betera Yasso. Interesting enough. And I think his mother's name was Demeket, if I'm not mistaken. Grew up in a village in Ethiopia over there, and he would learn Torah under the auspices of his father, Kestivitra Yasso, as we mentioned before, who was one of the leaders, let's just say, spiritual leaders of the Jewish community of Ethiopia in that specific area, in the vicinity, I believe, in Tijirai, if I'm not mistaken. Very interesting enough. And when the year 1917, he'd be approximately 17 years of age at that point in time, he would get married to his wife. He was 17 years of age. Vini, Yasso, I believe her name was. And they would go on to have 9 children. I think three of them reported over, had passed away during his lifetime. Now, he was his father's right-hand man, let's just say, would go from village to village and strengthen the community, promoting monotheism, Judaism, teaching Torah in the public, in himself, and he really seek to make shalom between various different people inside the community in of itself. And they would travel through various different, let's say, the mountains in of itself, Laharei Samayan, interesting enough, and while at the same time be teaching and learning Torah at a very high level at that point in time, and was considered one of the great leaders of Ethiopian Jewry. And especially during the time period while he was traveling the mountains, he deepened his studies with the various different Jewish communities of those different vicinities. I believe they were actually, let's just say, they had interesting names in of itself, these great communities. Hamelekotzots bechet veti, I think that was a community in of itself. Hanezirima Yehudayim, that was what they were considered. By the time period of 27 years of age, he was appointed to various different positions. Let's just say one of the head rabbis in the vicinity in of itself, very, very prominent position. He was ordained, I think, by Abba Kinda. I think very interesting. And he would return afterwards to the Tigray region and continued his, let's just say, teaching, education, chinuch over there. Happened to be in the region of the Shira region also, and the Adiabo and the Wolkate, interesting enough. And he gradually became accepted, let's just say, at one stage in time, as a leader of Ethiopian Jews in the Tigray region in of itself. This was especially during the time period when he was still in his late 30s. I think come what the year 1930, he would grant you more further, let's say, positions. I think at that point in time, Haile Selassie came to power in Ethiopia, and I believe he himself sent his church emissaries to convince the Jewish people to convert to Christianity. And the rabbi we're speaking about today really did fight against this. Let's just say that Haile Selassie, he arrived in Tigray region. This was a region of Rabbi Yasso's, let's just say, his pinnacle at that point in time, where he was really the Torah spiritual leader in of itself, and he stood up to them saying, "We will teach you the Torah, and you will not teach us." So he was actually flipping the coin over there, saying that the Torah is a truth to all of them, and really advocating for Judaism in of itself. I believe what's interesting, he would receive, I think, come with the year 1936, the Rosh Hashanah HaEthiopiyot in of itself. Many people there was a shtiach v'glima muzehevet ka'ot ha'okra v'akra b'mahanikoto. this happened to actually be, I just said that in Hebrew. Obviously, it was presented, let's just say, with the carpet and the golden robe by the head of the Ethiopian, let's just say, church patriarch Johannes, as a sign of respect and recognition for his leadership. So the Ethiopian dignitaries and people in power, let's just say in himself, they really respected him, as he happened to be a really great rabbi that stood by his principles. Unfortunately, there was a time period of the Italian occupation, I think between the years 1936 1941, and at that point in time, he would receive assistance from the authorities, I think, in renovating the synagogue and moving, let's just say, and strengthening trade, helping religiosity in that specific area, using his important connections so that the Jewish community would have all their needs. And I think come what the year 1974, which was afterwards, I think there was Sultan Kol Onal Mengistu. I think he would actually be in correspondence with the great rabbis, with the great rabbi in of itself. And that point in time, I think this colonel dragged Ethiopia into war. Unfortunately, there had to be a troublesome time period where there was severe famine. There happened to be a civil war in Ethiopia. Reported over 1 million civilians died, and Rabbi Yasso led his community during this very difficult period in of itself. And so this colonel, just to say before, I don't know if he actually had a relationship, I'll speak myself. I don't know if he was actually connected or spoke to Rabbi Yasso in of itself, but he brought, let's just say, Ethiopia into the war, and Rabbi Yitzhak Yasso really did fight in combating that and to make sure that the services for the Jewish community were as good as possible. It was reported over that Ethiopia actually severed its relations with Israel, I think, during the 1981 time period. So hence, there would have been a difficult period for him in of itself, and he would make the slow journey to the land of Israel with a group of people from Ethiopia, a big group of people at that stage in time. There was a lot of dangers traveling on the way and hardships from Sudan. Let's just say they would stop off in Sudan and travel eventually to Israel. I believe they encountered bandits, robbed them of their property, and I think they were captured by Ethiopian army soldiers and imprisoned, reported over for 2 months. And unfortunately, during this very, very tough journey, some members of the community had passed away who he personally knew. And it was very, very tiring journey, let's just say, in of itself. But he very, very much wanted to preserve the family's Torah heritage and Torah glory for many generations. So in 1982, he would finally make Aliyah, he would arrive, and he lived, I believe, in an absorption center in Atlit, if I'm not mistaken, and then he would move together with his daughter Rabbanit Adams to Kiryat Gat, and let's just say this home of his over there became a spiritual center for immigrants from Ethiopia. So not just in Ethiopia, in the vicinities, he was considered a big rabbi. Also in Israel, he had been, and he had great humility. It led him to guide, let's just say, various different immigrants that came from Ethiopia to accept the path of the rabbis of the land of Israel and to integrate into Israel in as good of a way as possible. Now, he passed away, I believe, on the first day of Shvat in English year 1995, and I think he was buried in Har HaMenachot, the Mount of Restings Cemetery in Jerusalem. Now, it's actually interesting. I believe in the year 2018, this was a significant period after he passed away. Let's just say possibly close to 25 years afterwards. I believe his Torah and biography were published in a journal called The Times. And it was actually quoted by Rabbi Menachem Waldman under the title The Words of Abba Yitzhak. And I think come 2016, we're talking about 9 years ago, the ancient book of the Orit, which he brought with him from Ethiopia, was donated by his family for safeguarding at the National Library. And in the year 2020, his family published a work in his memory. It was a tractate, let's just say, of his life, work, and leadership. And very much a great book in of itself. But the Ethiopian Jews, per se, during that time period, didn't necessarily use the term title as rabbi, like we do nowadays when we are showing respect to the great rabbis of our local areas or our spiritual leaders. We will give them all the honest, let's just say, glory or respect that they deserve. But he was really, really a great rabbi that had a passion for Israel and really for growth in Midot, in Torah, and in all the important spheres of a Torah lifestyle. And very much I would recommend everyone to learn much more information about the great Chacham we are speaking about today. We've already covered about a good 600 rabbis. In this series, we're a community here. We're learning about the great Oriental Rabbanim of Yasso. If you feel anyone else would like to watch these videos, please share to them. Drop me a comment at any stage in time. Wishing you blessings from Israel.